Vivian. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fine. It's a beautiful Thursday evening here in Manila. What time is it over there in Wales?
It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and it's actually sunny and not raining for once. So that's quite
Oh,
nice.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been seeing that, that part over the world there has always been having cloudy skies or raining.
Very
The
rainy,
the
yes.
sun hardly comes out there in that part of the world. But I really appreciate it. I've been to London before and I love the cold. The cold wind touching my skin for a
Yeah, it's
change.
very refreshing.
Yes. So, by the way, guys, in case you are not yet familiar with her, so I'm interviewing Miss Earth Wales 2024, Grace Gavigan. Grace, can you introduce yourself to my followers here on Instagram?
Yeah, of course. So magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. Ako ay si Grace Gavigan, your Miss Earth Wales 2024, and I'm really excited to be talking with you tonight, Adam. So I'm a full-time student here from South Wales. I'm going to study law in September, which is really exciting. I'm also the founder of the Pollinator Pathways community project, but I'm sure we'll talk more about that later. And I'm also an avid volunteer and have been for over 10 years now. So that's a
How
bit
old
of
are
a
you
back.
now? How old are you
I'm
again?
18.
Wow, 18 years old. So you're about to take up a pre-law course this coming September or this coming school year?
Yeah, so I start my law degree in September, yeah. So that'll take me 3 years to complete.
Law proper or a pre-law course? Law.
Proper law, straight
Oh,
into it.
what was your, so this is, you're going straight to law right away without going through pre-law first.
Yeah, so here in the UK, we do our GCSEs, which are our compulsory exams, and that's most subjects like maths, science, and English, what have you. Then you do something called A levels if you choose to pursue them. So that's something where you get to specify a bit more. So I did law, history, and English literature, and then you go on to do your degree, which is at university then, and I've chosen to do law.
So, having said that, how do you still have the time to, how do you still find time to train or join a pageant like Miss Earth Wales?
I quite enjoy being busy, if you can't tell already, but to be honest, volunteering in school is something that I've always really enjoyed. So it's always been a huge part of my life growing up. So it's just a matter of doing it all with a crown on my head, really.
Mm-hmm.
Although the past couple of months in preparation for Miss Earth have gotten a lot busier, but it's something that
So
I'm really enjoying the process of, so I have no issues with it. And I feel like as long as you enjoy something, it's not an issue or problem then. But
that's great to hear. So for Miss Earth Wales is your first ever pageant.
no, so I did Miss Wales when I was 16, only a baby. That was my first pageant. Um, had a year out. I went to watch the Miss Earth Wales finals last year, but I was too young to compete, which I was absolutely heartbroken about. And watching Caris win on that stage, I knew I wanted to be up there competing. I knew it was the pageant for me. So as soon as the applications opened, I was on my phone messaging Danny. I was like, please take me on. Because I know I wanted that title so badly. So no, it's only my second pageant.
So you got your wish right away at only 18 years old.
Yeah, I've been so lucky. You know what? It's my dream title, it's my dream job. So I don't know what I'm gonna do by the time next May comes around and I have to hand over. But I've been so lucky to achieve it so young. And I'm
Mm.
absolutely honoured that the judges chose me to be able to represent our country on an international stage like Miss Earth. And considering my passion and my background as well, I've really loved being able to share my volunteering ethics and educate others using the Miss Earth Wales platform.
That's great. So how does your parents react to you now being a beauty queen on top of your law studies soon?
I tell you what, they've been so supportive. Wherever the pageant's going to be, where Miss Earth is. I'm sure they want to come out and watch the final, which would be absolutely lovely to have them there. But they've been so supportive. They know I'm busy and I get my head done, and they try to offer their help anywhere they can. I feel like in my early pageant stages and even volunteering, there was a lot of chauffeuring me around, driving me around to events and volunteering efforts. But now that I can drive, I feel like they're a bit relieved.
So how do you feel that the pageant is already around the corner, with just 2 months, no, 3 months away, and it's gonna be happening in our country, the Philippines.
I tell you what, I'm so excited. I couldn't feel more ready to go and represent Wales on an international stage like that. But I can't wait to meet all the other delegates. I've been in conversation with a lot of the girls, and they are so, so lovely, and they're doing so well on their advocacies. And this sisterhood, meeting them in person, is something that I'm really excited to experience. I feel like it's going to be absolutely magical. I can't wait to immerse myself in a new and different culture, try the country's food. So Miss Earth is something I feel ready and very excited for.
Will this be your first time in Asia?
It will. It will. I haven't had the privilege of visiting that part of the world yet, but I tell you what, I cannot wait. I'm really lucky to go to India with a charity called A Sisterhood in September to visit the Wildlife SOS charity, and that's something I'm really excited for. So to be able to visit these two countries in the span of a couple of months is something I'm truly, truly thankful for, and this opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like the world is your oyster right now at only 18. So, wow. Right? So, wow. No words. Wow, you're really achieving a lot of things even at just 18 years old. Yeah. And I
Yeah, I
love the
like to
fact
put
that,
myself out there.
okay, there's a,
I like to put myself out there, take any opportunity that's come at me. You've got nothing to lose. You may as well reach for the stars. But
and I see that you're doing your homework as early as now. You're trying to learn to speak our language, at least the basic courtesy ones, just to, endear yourself to the locals as
yeah,
early as now.
yeah, I've got a very good teacher, and I've really enjoyed learning, even if it's basic linguistics so far. I love learning different languages, but no, this is something I'm really excited to continue developing my knowledge on.
What is your favorite Tagalog word that you've learned so far that you can't wait to use it once you set foot here?
Oh, that's a really good question. I feel like the simplicity of picking up mabuhay, just simplicity of welcome. It's always a nice one. Oh, kamusta. I enjoy all the greetings.
You know what? I want to teach you something. Just
Okay, go on
so
then.
you'll endear yourself more to the pageant fans, to the Filipino pageant fans once you set foot here. You try to speak to them, you try to appeal to their to their senses when you say, or to their you have to appeal to them by
Mm-hmm.
being fun, by
Okay.
showing your personality just a little bit, by saying charot. It's a gay
Charot.
charot. It's a gay Filipino slang for just kidding.
Okay, I'll use that. I'll keep it noted.
Yeah, just endear yourself by every time you say something in a joking
Yeah,
manner, try
yeah.
to end it with charot.
Okay, I will do. Thank
and
you for that.
and then you'll be able to tickle their their senses. Yeah, yeah, all the more. Yeah. So yeah, that's a good word. That's a good icebreaker word. Once you set foot here.
Okay, cool. I'll keep it noted.
Because for sure, once you guys will be starting your activities here, oh my gosh, you'll be going all over the country with so many people going up to you for autographs or photo ops and for so much more. So you have to get ready for that.
Yeah, I'm so excited to meet everyone, and the fans have been so supportive of me. I couldn't be more thankful to have their time and effort in interacting and engaging with me. And this is something I really try to acknowledge all of their hard work and efforts in supporting me, because it really does mean the world.
So how are you preparing for your upcoming competition? What aspect of the competition are you focusing right now?
So at the moment, it's very all-rounded. I mean, Miss Earth is it's a pageant with a cause. So this is something that I continue to develop. So one of the main headlines of my preparations for Miss Earth necessarily is by developing my advocacy, which is the Pollinator Pathways project, which is something I'm sure we'll talk about later on in the interview. Also my styling. Interviews like this, I absolutely love attending interviews and talking and getting to share my passions and experiences. My styling as well. I'm really lucky to have a director who's a pageant stylist and has styled the likes of Miss Universe, which is absolute. I'm so lucky to have her. She's incredible. I've also attended walk-in training, which is something I'm enjoying a lot. But lots of preparations at the moment, and I can't wait to continue preparing because I feel like too much preparation is never a bad thing.
I'm curious to ask, is there a Filipino involved in your training right now, or are they just all from your country?
There is a few. I've been very lucky to have the support.
Yeah, yeah, that's great to hear. So, which aspect of the competition are you so looking forward to perform the most?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Because you guys will be divided into, I heard, four groups, and you guys will be going to different areas of our country, different places, doing all these pre-pageant activities like uh, evening gown, and once and a few days after you guys will be arriving, you'll be doing a cultural theme gala show, and that's a first. Just to make you feel excited, that's gonna be the first time it will ever happen in the history of the pageant. Usually, when we do press presentations, you guys we usually see girls wearing swimwear, but this time I heard they'll make things different.
I absolutely love that though. I feel like 2024 is a year to embrace change and new things. And I feel like our tied to culture and heritage is more important to us now than ever. So to be able to embrace that culture and heritage is something that I'm really excited for, and to share that with others as well. And to be into a country like that with open arms and embraced like that with their culture, to learn more about their background. It is an aspect of the competition I'm super excited for.
That is so true. Yeah, for sure. We can't wait for you to slay it. Yeah, yeah. You have so many fans watching us right now. From JR222, love to hear that you are preparing for your walk. Oh, you have to prepare for your walk. Oh
Have
my
to
gosh.
prepare for walk.
You have to prepare. Like, how do you think you manage to stand out in a sea of, let's say, 80 girls? What do you think will be your edge coming to the competition?
Ooh. Although we got to acknowledge that I'm competing alongside some absolutely incredible women on this stage, I feel like a sense of individuality is really important to me coming into this competition. And I'm working really hard, whether it be through styling, through facial projections and what have you, even my aura coming across as elegant, is something that I value a lot coming into this competition, to stand out. And I hope as well, through my connection with these fans and the way that I'm putting myself out there on social media to promote the Miss Earth cause, is something that will help me stand out. But ultimately it does come down to stage presence and time, and I hope that my training is enough, but I've given it my absolute all and I feel so ready for it.
For sure, you'll be formidable once you set foot here.
Thank you.
Your Filipino fans are starting to grow by the day. Yeah, judging from the traction that you got from your interview with Miss Earth Crown last weekend. I just check it out. It has almost 5,000 views since that
Oh
interview
my
that day
God.
happened. So wow, you're gaining a lot of fans. And I hope you'll be able to sustain that momentum. Yeah, so coming into Miss Earth, let's now go to the meaty part of our conversation. I'm curious to ask, how did your love for the environment or nature begin?
This is something I could talk all day about. I feel like there's not one specific moment that I can pinpoint where my passion truly ignited. When I was younger, I tried to spend all my time out in the garden, attracting as much wildlife as possible into my garden by putting out bird feeders and food for foxes and badgers, which are native here in the UK and what have you. But I'd say what really elevated my passion, if not sparked it, so to speak, would definitely be my joining the Wildlife Trust's Youth Forum for volunteering. I must have been about age 8 or 9, but to be able to participate in community activities, gain knowledge from volunteers who've been there long before me, but also project my knowledge onto others and take collective action to better our wildlife and local community. And that ecosystem was something that truly, I felt like I had found my meaning in life when I started
So
volunteering.
at 8 years old, you already have, a good grasp of how our environment is working, even if you're just, living in your community, in your hometown. Yeah, because when I think about it, yeah, Wales, it's such a beautiful country with these scenic nature landscapes that I just see on postcards and in the internet. So that probably enhanced or influenced your desire to contribute something good for the environment, at least in your community.
Yeah, so I actually come from an industrial community. We have a steelworks right on our doorstep. So seeing that mix of industry alongside nature is something I've grown up with. My house is sandwiched between coastline and mountain, which is absolutely incredible. I have 5 minutes between Mountainscape and the beach. So seeing the local community come out not only to advocate for our steel town, which is something so dear to our hearts, but now with the hardships that steel industry is facing, not only as an emitter of pollution, what have you, because we have faced problems of pollution in the past, but seeing it move into a new green industry, where having a green blast furnace created is showing that we're moving with the times. But not only that, but community efforts in protecting our local wild places. Despite being an industrial town, we have great pride in our national parks and local wild spaces, and we all enjoy spending time outside, whether it be on the mountains or on the beach.
Wait, at only 8 years old, you already knew what was happening around within your environment because at 8 years old you already have this okay this knowledge. Okay, my house is situated in between an industrial place and mother
Yeah.
nature. So at that time, do you already see the contrast of how everything is turning out to be, and
Yeah.
who influenced you
So
more to really think green as you grow older?
yeah, so it definitely started with that knowledge of spending time outside, and you look over and you can see that the steelworks is emitting pollution. No matter, it is the heart of the town, but we cannot deny the environmental effect that it's causing. We've had speed limits put here to prevent further emissions and what have you. But I feel like despite being young and acknowledging that pollution that was coming from our steelworks and our industry, it really encouraged me to continue my research as I grew older. Right, acknowledging that we do have this industry here and it is so important for the survival of our town and culture. What else can we do to help protect our wildlife and allow it to thrive in my local town? So it's really a matter of getting involved in volunteering efforts. I'm also a member of my local nature partnership and ensuring that we do have protected areas for our wildlife to allow them to thrive alongside industry, because ultimately urban areas you are going to need to see both humans and industry as well as wildlife and ecosystems thriving alongside each other. And as long as we respect that balance of industry and thriving ecosystem, I feel like this is something that we can really depend on in order to see not only economic growth but environmental survival as well.
From your 18-year-old perspective, do you think we are coexisting with our with all the other elements in the ecosystem right now beautifully or cohesively?
Okay, in my opinion, I'd say there's always a lot more that we can do. considering the flash floods that are going on in Spain at the moment, environmental devastation, deforestation in the Amazon, not only that, but destructive habits that are destroying our sea, living in a society of overconsumption and fast fashion. I feel like the current environmental state is not one of peace and harmony. We are facing a biodiversity crisis, which is intrinsically linked to our climate crisis. So this is seeing the dramatic decline in species. Here in the UK, 1 in 6 species are at risk of extinction. So at the moment, I'd say no, we are not living in a state of environmental harmony. And that's why it's so important to utilise not only the Miss Earth platform, but my volunteering efforts to encourage people to come together and make small individual actions that can be the tidal wave for change, that can allow us to step towards environmental thriving and big D in sustainability.
So that's how your pollinators pathways were founded, or were organized.
Yeah, so here in Wales, 35 species of bee have gone extinct and another 13 are at risk of extinction. And seeing that statistic was really startling for me, and I decided that I wanted to see change to be observed. Because here in the UK, we've lost over 97% of our wildflower meadows since the 1930s.
Okay.
So this pollinator pathway scheme was necessarily set up to develop mini wildflower havens to help our bees and butterflies that are currently facing decline.
Why are you focusing on wildflowers?
Yeah.
Because remember, we were talking about this ecosystem, all your observations about the extinction of living species out there, and then how did it go to focusing on protecting the wildflowers?
Yeah, so wildflowers are incredibly important for our pollinators, which are bees and butterflies. And pollinators are so important to us as humans because they allow for a third of the food on our supermarket shelves. Without these pollinators, we wouldn't have food. So it's really important for me to see their habitats protected and thriving, especially considering the rapid decline that they've faced over the past century. So establishing this Pollinator Pathways project basically sets out to create more habitats in my local community and also educate others. I've been really lucky to collaborate with my health board, schools and charities, and this is something that I'm going to continue to develop in the course and lead up to Miss Earth. But this is a project that I also think that can be used if I was to be crowned Miss Earth. Globally, we are facing a decline in bees, and globally we know the importance of the bee as it was declared the most important species on Earth. So using these food stocks as we see famine and decline and what else have you, this is a global issue that needs to be solved, and we can all use mini wildflower meadows with native wildflower species to enroll mini wildflower havens to help our pollinators get back to a thriving state, and then as a result we can see an increased thriving ecosystem.
Wow. For the benefit of my viewers here who may not, can you explain pollinators are all about? Who they are, how can they contribute to the to the blossoming of more wildflowers
Yes.
that could help our ecosystem?
So pollinators are our bees and our butterflies. And we all have seen a bee and a butterfly, but they've been facing rapid decline, as we know. So the way I'd encourage someone to get involved with the Pollinator Pathways project is really easy. You can do it from the comfort of your home. You can even do it if you're living in a flat using a window box. So it's necessary taking your native wildflower seeds, which are better for our bees and butterflies. They've got to be native. And planting them, allowing them to grow and thrive. They're quite independent, so they don't require a lot of care. And eventually you'll see these native wildflowers attracting bees and butterflies and allowing them to pollinate more, providing them with a food source, which will allow them to thrive and develop our ecosystems.
You know, when I hear you talk about, how these pollinators are being composed of, wow, I never thought that, yeah, these living species can really contribute something for the basic survival of our humanity. Like you said, bees, insects, or even animals, you
Yes,
know,
it's all about the
pollinates.
food chain.
Yeah, it's
We need a
all about the food
thriving
chain.
start to develop up the food chain
So
because without that thriving
So
start,
us here living in the city, when we see insects crawling in our midst, we usually swat it out right away. But if we talk about environmental stuff, they really contribute to a lot of things. Like, yeah, imagine if these bees pollinate a lot of flowers, and then all the more the flowers will bloom, it will produce that it will grow to plants. It will produce fertilized soil for more crops to be produced, which eventually, if you think about it, could contribute more significance to our economy as a whole.
absolutely.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
not only that, it also probably helps, you know, clean the air that we breathe.
totally. It's a total domino effect. The issue of sustainable farming nowadays goes hand in hand with protecting our pollinators. Because as we've seen, agriculture is a huge industry, and not only that, but it can also contribute in some ways to environmental devastation. So by working hand in hand with our farmers and valuing our agricultural industry and protecting these pollinator species will allow also for economic growth, because we cannot experience economic growth without a thriving ecosystem, as I've said previously. Because how can you expect a business to thrive if we're facing famine or flooding? It just doesn't correlate. So that's why it's so important to start with the ecosystem as the central core issue, and everything else will follow.
I'm learning a lot from you, to be honest. Yeah. If you think about it, no, if we think about it, yes, you think when I first read about your advocacy, pollinator pathways. It sounds like a title of a novel. And then, if you try, and then I read up your advocacy. Oh, okay, I get what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
And then, if you really think about it, yes, it really goes back. Overall, it really goes back to the basic unit, or the basic commodity, or the basis of why we live, or why or how we are
Absolutely.
living right now in this planet, through food, through the sustenance that we eat, which are all produced from the crops which were fertilized from the soils that were pollinated by these living species like insects, animals, bats. I can't believe even bats, considering that when you think about bats, that was the source of problem, how COVID
Yeah.
happened and spread all over the world. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. So there's a question
There's,
here
mm-hmm.
from J to R22. So, I loved how you are very passionate about your advocacy. What is also one thing unique about your advocacy compared from the rest?
Mm-hmm. So I haven't seen an advocacy yet that puts such emphasis on the small creature, the bee. As I've said previously, the bee has been declared the most important creature on Earth. And as we can see why, it's not only so beneficial for our ecosystems, but we depend on it. Our food supplies, I feel like over the next coming years, with the growing population, we need to see these creatures thriving and protect these wild spaces. But it's not just the pollinator pathways, which is my advocacy, but it's also bees and seas. The two things I'm most passionate about, protecting our oceans as well. Because after all, they are so important, not only for a thriving ecosystem, industry like fishing, our food sources, but also for carbon capture. Not many people know this, but kelp forests, which are under the sea, actually capture more carbon than rainforests, which is truly remarkable. And that's why it's so important to protect these alongside bees and seas. So, I'd say that's something different about my advocacy, is the fact that even though it seems like a small individual change, that it does have a ripple effect and can make a huge tidal wave of difference.
You know, if only all these insect species could talk, they would probably, give you a red carpet to their own world, to their own space somewhere under under the under the soil to give you a red carpet welcome for all the things that you have been doing for them, protecting them. Yeah, like queen of the bees, queen. What's your name, Grace?
Yeah. I actually went into a supermarket the other day and someone came up to me and said, "Are you the bee lady?" I was like, "Oh, yes,
Yeah.
I am."
Oh, see. Oh, yeah, that's great. At least it's resonating to a lot of your. It's starting to trickle down to all your fellow members in the community. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it
great.
was really lovely to see.
You're taking up environmental law. Is what wait, what specific law, what part or branch of law are you will you try to specialize in once start taking law proper? Will it have something to do with the environment as well, or will it be the typical route like corporate, criminal, or
Hmm.
or
I
something to do
definitely
with?
want to specialise in environmental law. It's something I'm so passionate about, and law's a lot of work. It's something that needs a lot of hours. So I feel like if I'm going to devote myself to a career, it may as well be something that I'm so passionate about. So environmental law here in the UK is something that's often circumvented. So people often go around it. They're not strong enough, especially in a time of political uncertainty here in the UK. Since we've left the European Union, a lot of our laws surrounding the environment have grown weaker. And something that's specific to me and my advocacy is the neonicotinoids, which are a pesticide up to 35 million bees with 1 teaspoon and are so deadly. So if I was to become an environmental lawyer, that's one law I'd be dead set on strengthening, is ensuring that we can't use these pesticides that pose such danger to our environment. And not only our environment, but us as consumers as well, because we are ultimately eating the food that's produced.
I'm sorry, pardon my ignorance. Why do these pesticides? How are these pesticides being used for other types of production in the world right now? Does pesticides help kill bacteria?
Yeah, so
So,
necessarily here in the UK with our neonicotinoid, it's used on a crop called sugar beet. And it's necessarily when a virus level from the sugar beet gets over, I think, is it 60%. And at the moment in 2024 is predicted to rise to 80%. But this neonicotinoid, this pesticide, will pose disastrous results for our bees. So it's been authorised under emergency use to be distributed, but it will pose devastating effects for our environment, and not only that, but for our water sources, because these pesticides run into our water. Not only that, our wildlife as well, as second-hand consumers, but it can't be good for us as well as consumers at the top of the food chain.
so based on your environmental know-how now, if you will be
Mm-hmm.
asked by our government officials from around the world, what suggestion or alternative can you tell them in replacing these pesticides that harm the ecosystem?
Yeah, so ultimately, it'll always come back to a thriving ecosystem. You will not have pests if you have thriving species that eat the pests. There's always a solution. Like here in our gardens, we have the issue of aphids. So if you have ladybugs, which are further up the food chain, to eat these pests and prevent the issue of food arousal and what have you, it'll ultimately stop the issue of these pesticides needing to be resourced to and what have you. But I feel like there'll be a growing issue of zoonosis. As we've seen with COVID, that's a disease. Zoonosis is necessarily a disease that comes from an animal and gets transferred to humans. So by having these thriving ecosystems where animals don't have to come into our urban areas, and by having a thriving agriculture and ensuring that these ecosystems are doing well, by protecting wild spaces, it'll always come back down to protection of eco areas and ensuring that they have habitat. That will be really important in deciding for change and also preventing climate change.
As much as we are, I am enjoying this as much as I am enjoying this conversation, but then can our do you think you can compel our world leaders to really sit down in one meeting, in one forum, in one convention to really talk about, about these things? Because when we talk about environmental conventions or symposium or fora, there's always, there's this general topic about climate
Yeah.
change, but, and mostly the subtopics being addressed about are, the fossil fuels,
Yeah.
the coal plants, the mining companies that, pollute the environment, but hardly is, is the protection of
Yeah.
bees or just the ecosystem in general a priority?
So in relation to that, I definitely say it's so important to educate our governments and corporations on how we can make sustainability a tool for economic growth, because I feel like that's one of the main barriers to sustainability. We've got to sacrifice industry in order to save our environment. However, in a couple of years, we're going to run out of fossil fuels. We want to have that thriving industry. So it's so important to make that shift now to green and renewable energy in order to see a thriving planet and a thriving industry, which is not at the cost of nature.
So
So
when you
by
say, so when you say we need to sacrifice industries, so you're all for the closure or shutdown of these, con- um, industries harm our that
I feel
harm
like there needs
our
to be a
planet,
gradual
like.
shift. There's
Mhm.
not something that can be done overnight. These industries are undeniably important and the foundation of our economy. So by making these small changes and small shifts towards green, I feel like it can be a small change that's made.
When
Because
you talk
ultimately,
about when
yeah,
you talk about small changes, what can you propose? Like, eat green, be a vegetarian, don't go to Zara or patronize your favorite fashion brands when everything goes on sale, so that all these factories will no longer start manufacturing clothes that emit carbon dioxide or monoxide in the air that leads to global warming and climate change that affects countries like our country, the Philippines, with so many
yeah,
typhoons all year round. Yeah. What do you think?
yeah. So one of my suggestions I'll always go back to is food waste. 40% of food is wasted every year, which is absolutely shocking to me. So I feel like by buying locally, not only supporting your farmers, but also buying only what you need, we can prevent this food going to waste. Not many people know, but when food breaks down, if it's not composted, it produces a gas called methane, which is a greenhouse gas and contributes to our carbon emissions and what have you. So it's really important that we tackle this issue of food waste because ultimately it is a climate change problem. In terms of other issues, it is really the small individual action that can make the biggest difference. Because at the end of the day, sustainability isn't perfect and it is really difficult to achieve in a society of overconsumption. Making swaps out instead of buying plastic, whether it be buying your fruit loose instead of plastic containers, using your reusable water bottle, taking public transport instead of driving your car one day, or ride sharing. But I feel like there needs to be investment into these green industries to really encourage people to make these changes. Because a lot of the time they're not as accessible as believed. There does need to be huge investment. But I feel like by communicating that with our corporations, which is something I would do as Miss Earth, using that platform to communicate and break down these barriers that are preventing people from accessing sustainability is something that's really important to me.
You make sense. You really make sense because if you think about it, not only about what you're saying, but if you think about it, around the world, around 20%. I just read a study, an environment study that says that around more than 20% of deaths can be traced back to avoidable environmental factors,
Yeah,
as validated by the World Health Organization.
it's
So
absolutely.
imagine, yeah, and you think about it, yeah, yeah, the air we breathe is dirty. The places that we live are very toxic
Mm-hmm.
or full of toxic substances
Yeah.
and hazards. So yeah.
Yeah, I did a research paper this year on microplastics being found in the human bloodstream. We've even got plastic in our bodies. That is, if that doesn't startle you, I don't know what does. But that's why it's so important to remain informed about your choices of sustainability in making change and not to be frightened by them. I've suffered with something called eco-anxiety because all of these shocking statistics, like you said, the 20%, and the current state of our climate can be really frightening. So remaining informed and going out and making these small changes is so important in making a big difference to leave a better planet for our future generations, because ultimately they're going to be the ones dealing with these huge environmental issues. So it's better to make change now than to face the drastic cost later, and also prevent these drastic costs that will come as an effect of climate change.
At the rate that we are going right now, if only Mother Earth could speak, what do you think should she be saying at the moment about how we are addressing our environmental issues?
In a lot of ways, I feel like Mother Nature is already speaking. We see these drastic weather events. We see famines. We see startling environmental issues. Like, I know one of the other advocacies we've seen is environmental refugees. The current state of our planet is speaking. We're seeing these animals go extinct. If that's not Mother Nature speaking for itself and saying this is time for change, I don't know what is. I think people want to hear that voice, but I feel like Mother Nature is already speaking about her current issue of absolute desperation. We need to achieve these change, but not many people can hear the voice that does not speak. And that's why it's so important to me as a custodian of the earth and as someone who is Miss Earth Wales to speak for those that cannot be heard and do not have a voice. And that's what I hope to use my platform for, and that's what I'd love to do if I was crowned Miss Earth, is to advocate against these environmental issues and highlight the changes that can be made to stop further devastation.
When you say you advocate for these environmental issues, don't you think you might be going up against a huge wall, considering that a lot of the perpetrators of our environmental issues are mostly companies, who do not implement
Yeah.
environmental sustainable practices
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't align with their business goals. So how do you think, from your 18-year-old perspective, a company could align their profits with the interests of the people and the planet?
It's, as I've said previously, it's really important to invest in green infrastructure. Whether it be cutting down on your plastic use, I feel like in a society of overconsumption, as I've said previously, and as we've heard our previous Miss Earth, Lindsay, say about, in a society of overconsumption, we need to cut down on this toxic habit of overconsuming. So that's something really easy that we can encourage these companies to do, whether it be in distribution, because often there are cheaper alternatives to plastic. So that's something I'd encourage companies to do. Also invest in green energy. It's going to be a huge rise in industry. So by making these investments now, which is often more accessible to companies and corporations, it's really important. But also, we got to acknowledge that climate justice is social justice. The current work and economic state for a lot of people is totally devastating and unattainable. People are working long hours, people are unhappy. We're seeing a lot of unrest around the world at the moment and job losses. So by investing in this green infrastructure, more jobs will emerge. There'll be further opportunities. And that's why it's better to take a grasp of this now and really use it to our advantage than let this opportunity go.
That is so true. That is so true. We need to really do our share in helping, in protecting our mother planet. And yeah, think about it. Yeah, we're over consuming things. So from my end, I just eat what I supposed to be eating on my calorie, based on my body calorie, based on my body, how my body built, my size,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things, and a lot of things.
Yeah.
All right. Wow. Wow. You know what? I'm having so much. I'm learning so much from you. Yeah.
I'm
Thank you.
so
Thank
glad.
you for. Thank you. Thank you so much for everything that you have been sharing to me, because we're not just basically talking about, simple stuff, but we're talking about matters that really affect our lives. If you think about it. Yeah. Um, th- I can't believe we've been talking for almost an hour already. So
It's
that
gone
probably
very
wraps up the
quickly.
interview. From my end, I am learning so much. I am really learning so much from this interview, because, wow, someone like you, made me pay attention to all these living creatures, you know,
I'm
inhabiting our
so glad you learned a
ecosystem,
lot.
that they're really contributing to something significant to our planet, to the things that we are doing. And yet when we see them, we treat them as, we treat them as pests. We kill them because it irritates us. Yeah, we always associate them with these living creatures as dirt, to dirt, or
Yeah.
anything filthy or dirty. So wow. Wow. So let's try to read some comments from Millie May. Go Grace. From Ethan, another well informed queen again. Imagine if we put the efforts of all Miss Earth candidates from the past till now. It would be amazing to see the results of their works. Yeah. Yeah. I wish there's, now you think about it, I wish there's a collective body or organization that oversees all these things. And so, for hello, hello, did I hang? Hello, we, I lost her. I lost her. Oh, I lost her. I think we just ended. But anyway, we were just about to wrap up everything. But thank you so much for all the people who are tuning in right now. Yeah, I think it's on Grace, and yeah, because yeah, I figure, because I still keep talking and she just froze, uh, in the air. So yeah, but I don't know if she will still. Oh yeah, I lost her. I think she's experiencing some technical issues right now. Thank you so much to everyone. Well, um, it's not the ending that I would have wanted, but here she is again.
I'm
I
so
lost
sorry. My
you.
signal just totally went.
For a
It's
moment, I
typical.
thought
It's
it
the
was my fault.
technology.
Yeah, because I'm doing this live chat on a hotspot, using my hotspot, and I thought, oh my god, did my hotspot fail me already? So, and then I
No, I
realized,
think
then
it,
you just
it was
froze.
me.
Yeah,
Typical technology never works when you need it to.
your supporter here, John Lacena, is saying, I think she's so chatty, uh, that the internet also gave up on her. Yeah, yeah, that's the literal. I just pinned his comment. That's what he meant in Filipino. You're so chatty. Yeah, you're so chatty that the internet even gave up on you. Ah, yeah, Grace, you talk too much already. Save it for the coronation night. Oh, and very informative. Yes, Linel has been watching us. Linel, thank you so much for allowing me to interview your alaga here. For sure you can't wait to see her finally in person. So, as my last question,
Mhm.
why do you think you should win Miss Earth this year?
Oh my goodness, to try and get this down into one answer. This is something I've given a lot of thought. To win Miss Earth this year would be an absolute dream, but also a job that I would carry with me for life. Because at the end of the day, like our first Miss Earth, Carolina Svensson, said, this is a job. It's not just a title, it's not just a crown. It is a responsibility to help Mother Earth, but also others to take actions to help our ecosystems. Because at the end of the day, climate justice is social justice. So by making sustainability accessible to others is something I really value as Miss Earth, but also advocate for the protection of our planet and wild places is something I'd really love to do with a Miss Earth crown on my head.
Wow, girl, there's no words to say, but wow, you're so eloquent. You know what you're talking about. I'm really amazed at how an 18-year-old like you can be so passionate and eloquent and very proactive with what she's doing for the environment. I'm really at a loss for words, to be honest. I mean, rarely do we see young kids like you who has developed this huge love and passion for the environment. So, I won't be surprised if 30 years from now, you might end up running for public office, just so you can continue your crusade for the environment. Yeah. And I think this Miss Earth platform is a great platform for you to start propagating and spreading awareness about your advocacy. So on that note, can you give a huge shout out to all your fans, especially Filipino fans who can't wait to see you 3 months from now here in the Philippines?
Thank you all so much for your support and for watching tonight. It means the absolute earth to me, and I can't wait to meet you all. Also, a huge thank you to my national director, Danny. You're an absolute star, and I don't know what I'd do without you. Also, thank you so much, Linnell, for all of your support and for setting up this interview. I've really enjoyed coming on and talking to you, Adam.
Me too, and I can't wait to see you here soon. So enjoy the rest of your day there in Wales, and
Thank you.
hopefully
Enjoy
one
your
day I can visit
evening.
you there. Yeah, enjoy the rest of
Thank
your
you.
day and good luck. I can't wait to meet you here soon. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
That was a great interview.